Hey there learners! English is hard. It's tough to master, and even native speakers regularly make mistakes. In this series, we're looking at some that happen way too often, and we'll show you how to avoid them. I was recently surprised to learn that some native English speakers are not aware that the letter Y is often used in place of vowels. It is a well-known rule that all English words contain one of the 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U. On the odd occasion that they don't, there will be a Y. In spelling, Y can either represent a consonant or a vowel. When it is a consonant, it is pronounced Y, as in yes or yellow. When it is a vowel, it can be a long E, a short I, or even an I. The easy way to remember if it is acting as a consonant is that it will appear at the beginning of a word, like it does in young, or as the first letter of another syllable, like in canyon. So essentially, the Y is a vowel when it represents one of a number of spoken vowel sounds. The phonemic chart represents the Y sound with a J symbol. But why is the Y used like this? It's an interesting story. In the 12th century, there was an explosion of demand for books, but at the time all books were handwritten and materials were expensive. The style of writing used was called Carolingian minuscule, but the problem with this was that the text took up a lot of space, and so costs of book production were huge. So standard writing practice evolved into a new style called blackletter, sometimes called Gothic script or Gothic minuscule. This made letters out of almost identical line strokes called minims. They took up much less space. Books became cheaper and faster to produce, but often more difficult to read. See this Latin word, millia, which meant thousands. See how the letters are all extremely similar? The M is 3 minims, the I's are single minims, the L is a tall minim, and the A is 2 minims connected by lines. Here is the word minim, written in blackletter. You can see why it might be difficult to read. Does it say minim or nun? It's quite hard to say. You have to read quite slowly and carefully to be certain. This sentence was written in 13th century to highlight the difficulty in reading the blackletter texts. The smallest mimes of the gods of snow do not wish at all in their life that the great duty of the defences of the wine be diminished. Given that the new style of writing was needed to produce large numbers of books, scribes needed to come up with ways to make the text easier to read. One thing that they did was add the dots to I and J. Another was that in many cases they realised that U's appearing before M's, N's or V's sounded similar enough to O's, so they changed the spelling of those words. They also decided that words that ended in I should have the letter replaced with something that stood out a bit more, and so Y was adopted. At this time the letters W, Y and Z all officially became part of the English alphabet. As you can see, all these changes that blackletter required have stayed with us to this day. See how the word honey would have originally been spelt H-U-N-I. With a change from a U to an O and the I to a Y, it is much easier to read. This also explains why words like study still have I's when in their other forms, i.e. studied and studious and so on, these words have I's in the middle, so the change was not made. They only changed I to Y at the end of words. But that doesn't explain why the word rhythm has a Y instead of an I. Side note, rhythms is tied with nymphly as the longest English word without a vowel aside from a Y. Some English words have Y's as vowels in the middle of their spellings, and they don't have anything to do with helpful practical reasons like the changes for blackletter. In the 16th and 17th centuries, English spellings became standardised, as the rules had been fairly flexible beforehand. It seems that the people in charge of choosing the new standard spellings were snobs who liked to show off their education. The word rhyme had been adopted into English from French and was spelt sensibly as R-I-M-E. But when the snobs were deciding on how to spell it, they wanted to show that they knew that before it was a French word, it had come from the Latin rhythmus, and before that, the Greek rhythmos. So this snobbery explains the odd appearance of many Ys as vowels in English words. So after that lengthy lesson on history and etymology, the summary is that Y is now being used in some places where clearer vowels should be used for a mixture of reasons. Thanks for listening. Check back soon for more tips on how to master English with focus on learning.